Trigger warning for gore, violence, and discussion of sexual assault.
Camp, a podcast where two friends gab by the fire from our fun film perspectives. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Lou.
And today we're talking about The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad is a 2021 film directed by James Gunn, released last weekend, August 2021.
Yes, very recent. We both saw this in the theater for the first time since the pandemic, for me at least. What about you?
Same for me.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I know. It was interesting.
It was really fun to go to the theater. I was almost, nervous. I was, going to a date or something. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
It was weird in the sense it's just been so long. I was like, I don't know what's going to the theaters like, but it was good. And it was a good place to see it.
Yeah, I liked it. And the theaters were doing, really good with the distancing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. I find seeing a movie in the theater and seeing it in your living room is normally a really different experience. Which, speaking of, so starting off, this film is way better than the other one. Though I still have some gripes with it. But I come from a very unique perspective in that I did not hate the other one nearly as much as most people. That being said, I think I only saw it once in the theater with my family, and I was like, yeah, that was okay. Now, that being said, I don't disagree with anyone's criticisms of it. It's all true. I can't say that I had a horrible time watching it. I had, a fine time, and some elements I found amusing. But yeah, it's still objectively not a great movie, and what it does really poorly, which this one improves on immediately, is the first one did not understand the assignment. It did not understand what the Suicide Squad was for, which is just a very basic, foundational problem of the first movie, is why are these people the ones doing this? Whereas this one, it immediately, I think the opening sequence is actually maybe my favorite part of the movie, because it establishes how it's different, and it also establishes, these people are expendable, and that is the point of them.
Thank you. Yes. The 2016 Suicide Squad movie, which I did not like at all, didn't really seem to get that the whole point of this mission was that the reason that they're sending these supervillains is that it's too dangerous of a mission to send anyone that, when they die, it matters.
Mm-hmm. Well, they
send the people that it doesn't matter if they die because they're bad. There's
also the element of, it's kind of sketchy. We don't want people knowing about this, you know?
Yes.
Which I think you had told me, too. It's if you get caught, we never talked. You're just a supervillain doing supervillain stuff, you know?
Well, if they get caught, their head gets blown up.
Yeah, that's true.
So, again, it doesn't, if something goes wrong, it doesn't matter.
I also really appreciated, I think, I don't know how some trailers get released in how, there's so many bad trailers out there for, one, misrepresenting what the movie's gonna be, and then everyone is mad at the movie, even if it's good, because it's not what was advertised, which has happened to countless movies.
Including the 2016 film.
Yes. And also, just giving away way too much. And I really appreciated, so the opening scene is our entire team that we are introduced to, it basically gets massacred. And we learn that this was a diversion by,
Amanda Waller.
Yes, Amanda Waller, thank you. This was a planned diversion. She sent them in to die, which also makes so much sense. It kind of one of the questions in the first movie is why is Harley Quinn here? She doesn't have superpowers, and in this one they literally send her they send her to die. And she doesn't, which is good because she's Harley Quinn. But it makes so much more sense logically. And shoot, what was my point? Oh, in the trailer, most of what you see is this first team, and then it kind of does that. I don't think Deadpool did this in the trailer, but they did it when like everyone of the team he built died very quickly, except for like a few people. It kind of does that where it's like everyone who you thought was going to be an important character in this movie, or most of them, are now dead.
But they also didn't go too far to like mislead you. They didn't like lie to you. They just like said, hey, there's lots of characters in this movie.
Yeah.
But it's also the Suicide Squad, so they're gonna die.
Yeah. No, that part, that was very, I think that was honestly like my favorite part of the film. And like when the final guy, sorry, I feel like I'm gonna get ahead of myself. Okay, so we're introduced to this one dude who we've never met before. He like throws a rubber ball, he kills a bird, so you're like, fuck this guy. And they're like introducing him, and through introducing him you kind of like meet everyone, and you have Flula, Flula's like an old school YouTuber, and he's been getting quite a few small parts in movies like this, and I'm just like very excited every time I see him. I did
notice that too.
He's the one with the javelin. I don't remember what he was called.
Mr. Javelin.
Oh. Makes sense.
I think that was his name.
And there's quite a few like bit actors like Nathan Fillion and Pete Davidson, who was so briefly in the movie, but I really like the bit that it was literally like a few seconds, but he was like pretending that he was gonna like pull his gun on one of the guards, and I just thought that was a cute joke.
No, this whole first team, which, like, it's not worth going over all them specific individually, because they're so brief, and basically their whole characters are kind of jokes in that regard.
Yeah.
But, like, well-constructed ones.
Ooh, and we have Boomerang, who was in the first movie.
I liked this whole intro thing. I liked how it all happened when they were all brought together. The team was, like, united, and the helicopter drops them off.
Mm-hmm.
And they forgot to check that the weasel could swim, and the weasel couldn't swim. He just instantly died. Which was like, wow, someone look at the paperwork, please.
Yeah.
And then they get to this beach, and Pete Davidson's character, like, instantly is like, hey guys, I'm betraying you all.
Yeah.
Which was such a dumb plan.
Why? What do you mean?
Pardon?
What do you mean?
It was like such a dumb plan because the bomb would still be in his head.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So,
that's
like, the second he would get up there, if Amanda Waller didn't, like, know that this was what she was wanting, like, if he actually tried to betray him, she'd just instantly blow his head off.
Yeah, you're right.
So this was just, like, such a dumb supervillain move.
But yeah, so he betrays them, but they, like, immediately shoot him in the face. Like, the opposition, who's, like, the army of this island that they're trying to get onto.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so they're, like, completely overwhelmed. Like, they weren't supposed to have this many people know that they were there, but because he sold them out, which also Amanda Waller knew about, so, like, who knows how that all worked out.
I think she planned that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so they're all getting massacred. So our first guy who was like our audience character who we got introduced to everyone through is watching all of this happen. Everyone's very gruesomely getting murdered. Not everyone, but almost everyone. And he like screams and decides to run away, which I also liked because it was just a very human reaction. And so they blow his head off.
Yeah.
And the blood in the water creates like what logo did it create?
It said Warner Brothers Presents.
When that happened, there was like multiple people in the audience who clapped. The introduction was just really, really tight and like really good for establishing the vibe. Ooh, also the characters of the Office, who are like running the missions. I also really liked them betting on who's gonna die and stuff. It was very Cabin in the Woods, if you've ever seen that, which the office people, the office like characters, like sort of this the juxtaposition between these people doing this sort of a very intense and gruesome job, but doing it mundanely, is always entertaining for some reason.
Yes.
So I really
like
enjoyed
the Office
their
characters.
addition.
I have a problem with the Office characters that I have to get to a lot later.
Yes,
but
I think I
can
have
get
that
there.
same problem.
The last thing I want to say about the intro was I thought it was really cute, the relationship Harley had with Boomerang.
Yeah,
But
me
they
too.
like established. I didn't like Boomerang that much in the last movie.
Yeah.
So
I liked him fine,
I
but
hope-
he was kind of nothing. Like, they didn't give him that much attention. And even though in this film he has so much shorter screen time, I felt they did a better job. They actually did this fairly universally better than the last film. A better job at establishing the character in a short period of time, and also establishing, like, relationships that felt real, so that you cared.
Yes. Like when Harley got on the plane for the mission, or the helicopter for the mission, and she said, "Hi, Boom."
Yeah.
And then they just had like a little chitter chat. And then when they're on the beach and she sees him get hit with the helicopter explosion,
Yeah.
she's like genuinely upset.
Yeah.
And we as the audience are genuinely upset for her.
Yeah.
Because even though we know they're all kind of terrible, they instantly made him so much more likable than the
Mhm.
entire last film.
And again, it's like what I was saying. I don't know why I keep coming back to this. But it's like what I was saying, complaining about with Frozen, was they did such a good job at immediately establishing an implied past relationship. And they do that multiple times. They do that later, too, with Idris Elba's character and the soldier. They immediately imply a past relationship, which kind of brings you on board to them having a close current relationship.
So basically now, everyone's dead. The last Javelin's last thing, last words before he's dead, because he gets shot very quickly, is he gives Harley Quinn his javelin.
Yeah.
And he tells her it's for something important, but he dies before he says what it is.
Yeah.
Which she gets very mad at him for, which I
Yeah.
thought was funny. Like, you're being very rude by dying on me
That
before
was
finishing
funny.
the speech.
I was worried they were gonna do that joke where somebody, like, the joke that's in Zombieland where, like, Bill Murray dies and then he, like, exhales for way too long and it makes it funny.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like for a second they were gonna do that exact joke. And I was like, you can't just steal that joke. So I was very glad instead she just slapped him in the face.
Yes. It was just funny. And then...
Yeah, so she gets captured, and then who is the soldier guy? Rick
Flag.
Rick Flag. He, like, runs off into the jungle and gets captured.
Yes.
And so then we transition to this other beach, and we see that there's the second team of people coming in, and they have no soldiers and, like, no one there because Amanda Waller had done this whole thing so that there was a diversion so they could get in. And we flash back, and sort of our main character is Idris Elba, and he is, what is his name?
He's Bloodsport.
Bloodsport.
And Amanda Waller basically gets him to join the team by threatening to throw his daughter in jail.
Where she will be then murdered.
And it would kill her.
Yeah. And I really liked that, because I really liked them. It was like they tried to do that in the last movie, like, get across how cutthroat Amanda Waller is, but she would be stupid about it, like when she just, like, killed the people who were working for her for, like, no apparent reason. Whereas this time, it's like she's completely amoral like that, but for a purpose. Which makes it scarier and, like, more... It just makes it more effective.
Now you might find this interesting, especially after what you just said.
Okay.
But it has been widely reported that originally Idris Elba was cast to play Deadshot, replacing Will Smith as the actor.
Yeah.
So he was going to play the same character
Mm-hmm.
as Will Smith.
Well, it's
But
basically
then very
same
last
character.
minute, Will Smith basically said, I might come back in the future.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, well, we'll make Idris Elba play someone else then.
Yeah.
So if you want to come back, it's there for you.
Yeah. Well, he's
Which is why there's so much overlap in
yeah.
character development, but also Idris Elba makes it entirely his own too.
Yeah, it's basically the same character on paper. Like, it's very obvious that he's the replacement for the Will Smith character.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like Idris Elba in this role. I really like him in general. But yeah, he does. I remember you talking to me about this earlier, is that Will Smith is not great at being a bad guy.
Will Smith is just very likable.
Yeah, and Idris Elba brings that better. He's still... my main problem... Well, one of my main problems, as we get into the second team of this movie, is I still feel like this movie struggles with having... It's like they don't want our main characters to be as bad as I think they should be. And they kind of shy away from it sometimes in making sort of the other bad guys worse. And I don't think we necessarily need that. And I think it kind of comes across like... I don't know, disingenuous sometimes. Like, you can have anti-heroes. And you can have people who are, like, bad but good at heart or whatever. But I just don't think that's the point of the Suicide Squad movies. I could be wrong. I don't know. But for me, I found the film is so irreverent so much of the time. And then it would very suddenly want you to take certain things seriously. And I found that with a problem with most... Well, I guess really just the Ratcatcher and Idris Elba's character.
Well, let's go over the 5 characters from Idris Elba's team.
Yeah, so it's
so
Idris
you brought
Elba.
up Ratcatcher, so let's go... Or Ratcatcher 2, so let's go over them.
Yes, and I like her. I actually
adored Ratcatcher too.
Yeah, I like her a lot, actually. They never tell us, like, why she's in prison.
Yes, they do.
Do they? What did she do?
Armed robbery, because they considered the rats a weapon.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, she was just a robber. So she makes sense for being... She's definitely the most moral and emotional of everyone. She's basically
a selfish Robin Hood.
Yeah, like she's objectively not a bad person compared to everyone else who's like hired assassins and stuff. She just robbed somewhere. So she makes the most sense for being more emotional, I guess.
She was moralistic, which I liked. She was also kind of very different from the rest of the team, which is like all super assassins.
Yeah.
Like these really strong, buff men who are super assassins, and she was just like, I just steal jewelry from banks, so I'm like not in the mood to travel through a whole jungle like this.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I kind of thought, at first I was like, oh no, are they going to make a bunch of millennial jokes? But they used it well in the sense that like, that's not what she does, so it makes sense that she wouldn't be used to this the way they are.
I think there could have been more tension with that, like, because it's not inherently uninteresting to explore the dichotomy between like criminals who steal things and criminals who murder people all the time, right? Like that's a very different level of like morality, and like having them work together and being expected to like and forced into doing this really intense stuff, but it's not like super explored, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. She's very accepting of everyone else, And I feel like if I was in her position, I'd be a little more freaked out that I was with all these people who just, like, are really chill about killing people. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about
I never
that.
got that vibe. I just liked her character a lot. I thought it worked really well, especially
No, I still
throughout.
really like her character. But I did find... I really like her, and I really like her character. I found how they did her backstory very jarring every time they did it. What?
Oh, I disagree strongly.
Really?
I liked her backstory a lot. I liked how they did it with the half flashback, and then there was that one scene where you at the end, which we won't spoil just yet, we'll get to there at the end, but the scene itself where she's on the roof of a building with her dad, and he explains why he picked rats, because people see them as the scum of the earth. So if people can make rats useful, then maybe the scum of the earth isn't that bad.
Yeah.
I
didn't
loved
like
that
it.
scene. The way they word it, and like the relationship and the heart in that moment, I just thought it was so sweet.
I really didn't like it. And it's not from the scenes in isolation are all fine, but everything else in the film is so irreverent and doesn't want me to take it seriously, and nothing is genuine.
I
And then
disagree
it's,
with you on that too.
Very suddenly, I'm supposed to take these very, like, charming and, like, genuine scenes with, like, a father and daughter seriously and be emotional about it, and I just found it, like, very whiplashy emotionally.
Oh, I know this doesn't mean much, but I just felt so differently about it. I thought they were handled beautifully.
That's interesting.
Also, I like the dynamic that Idris Elba was terrified of rats.
Yeah.
And no one knew that before they put him on the
Me
team
too.
with Ratcatcher.
See, what I would have preferred is they both have a really good conversation at one point, and it's where they bond a lot, and he says that she reminds him of his daughter, and I thought that was really good. That felt very, like, genuine. That was another thing this movie did better than the first one, which was giving them multiple bonding moments so that at least if they didn't care very strongly about each other, they still had a relationship with each other. And yeah, she asks him why he's so scared of rats, and he says, I don't know, one time when he made a mistake with his father, who's obviously a very bad man, he locked him in a cage for 24 hours with a bunch of hungry rats. And she says, I think this is when there is a flashback, and she says, like, despite my father's issues, because he was a drug addict and that's what ended up killing him, despite my father's issues, he loved me, and I wish I could give that to you. And that was a really nice interaction. For me, I think it would have been way more effective without the flashback if it was just the dialogue.
No, I disagree. I think that film is a show don't tell medium. If she just told it, the whole scene, I would have just been like, oh, you have to show me this. I want to see the love from your father. I don't want you to just say, oh, there was love there.
No. I don't like it.
You're wrong.
I'm not, though. That's the thing.
No, I get what you mean, but I disagree. I wouldn't feel the same way.
Okay. Yeah, so we have Ratcatcher. We have John Cena, who's Peacemaker. I love the inclusion of his character with Idris Elba's character, and they do a joke that I thought was really funny, where Amanda Waller is, like, telling the other people, she's doing her very serious, like, description rundown of who Idris Elba's character is, and it's all like, oh, he shoots every target he shoots at, and he can make anything a deadly weapon, and his father taught him how to fight since he was old enough, and blah-de-blah. She says the exact same thing, like, verbatim for John Cena's character, which is a very funny joke, and then it's also because she's like, oh, we pick everyone for their unique skills, and then they have the exact same skills, and it starts up a really good rivalry between John Cena and Idris Elba, but it's like sort of like I don't know, it's like a cheeky rivalry, like Legolas and the dwarf guy from Lord of the Rings, sort of, where they're like counting who can kill people the most and stuff.
Yes.
And I also liked John Cena's character as a villainous interpretation of American values. And I thought that was like really cool, and I liked seeing it portrayed that way on screen, especially from an American film. I feel like they don't often allow that.
Yes. I liked John Cena's character a lot in a lot of ways. There's a few times that they gave him like just bad jokes.
Oh, I don't remember.
Do you remember the lecture hall they were all sitting in?
Yeah.
And the whole film stops so he can say, "Hey, starfish sometimes is called a butthole. Is this a butthole?"
Oh, I didn't think that was a bad joke.
Like, maybe a better comedian could have done that, but like that was asking too much of John Cena.
No, I like that joke. That hit in my theater.
That did not hit my theater.
I thought it was funny because it was showing that he was dumb. Like, that was the point of the joke.
Okay, well, I thought it was dumb as a dumb joke, but I get it in that regard.
Okay.
But they didn't ask him to do too many jokes anyway, like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I liked how they had the dynamic between him and Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
But also, there was a sort of respect that, like, Idris Elba was still in charge.
Yeah.
Even if John Cena didn't like it, he wasn't, like, trying to take over. He was just like, ugh, be better.
Yeah.
Which was good, because that would have been annoying.
Peacemaker's whole, like, motto is he's very, like, American and into, like, peace and liberty and stuff, but his whole thing, which he says to Ratcatcher at some point, he's like, how does he phrase it? But he's like,
I love peace with all my heart, and I don't care how many people I have to kill to get it.
Yeah.
And then Ratcatcher just looks at him like, oh my gosh, you sound insane.
Yeah. Which is hilarious, but also so his character. Like, we see that happen, like, come to fruition. Which is just really fun as a character. And then we have Polka Dot Man. And
I was terrified when I learned, like, Polka Dot Man was going to be more than just a joke character.
Uh-huh.
Because Polka Dot Man, in every other version, is just a joke. Which is fine. Like, that's what the character is. And I was like, uh-oh, is this going to be just, like, a constant annoying joke the whole movie?
Yeah.
But they made him very sympathetic.
Yeah.
Very likable. And very, like, just a good character, I thought.
They did. I really liked him. And I liked that he was the most human of them. He was almost the most normal, weirdly. Like, kind of like a normal person. And basically his backstory was that his mother had been obsessed with making her children into superheroes. So she kind of, like, infected them all. And she killed some of them. And he didn't end up dying, and he got infected with this, like, polka dot disease. So he, like, he has to, like, throw up all these polka dots, like, twice a day or whatever, or they'll, like, kill him, and he just kind of, like, gets these polka dot welts. But when he releases them, they're kind of like little, I don't know, like little razors or something, and they can, like, chop people up or, like, chop stuff up.
I got, like, an acidy thing. Like little acid discs.
Oh, you thought they were acidy? No, I thought they were like little blades.
Things. They never just cut them.
They burned things. I didn't think they burned things.
Yeah, I thought they had a burning effect after.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I don't think so.
I'm pretty confident.
Regardless of whether they burned or not, besides them feeling silly, they are actually a pretty useful superpower. They could have used him way more, actually. Like, in terms of fighting.
Yeah,
but
which I kind of liked how in this film, which I know we keep comparing to 2016 version.
I mean, it's fair enough. It's a remake of it, basically.
Yeah, But in the 2016 version, their quote powerful character
Yeah.
was the fire dude, but like he just wouldn't use his powers because he was scared of them.
Yeah.
Because he hurt someone last time.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of annoying because they kept getting almost dead. And it's like, dude, you have fire powers. Please just burn the thing.
Yeah.
And it was annoying because it was such a poor decision. It was like an annoying choice that he just kept making. Nope, I won't save your life or help because I'll feel sad. But in this one, the reason is that he can only use it like so much at a time. And also,
oh,
he's
is that the
kind
reason?
of. I think
didn't
so.
realize that.
But more importantly, it's also he's not a soldier or a fighter like the other people. He's not really a bad guy. He's just not well.
No, and he says like, I don't like killing people, but if I imagine them to be my mom, then it's pretty easy, because he fucking hates his mom fairly since she killed multiple of his siblings and infected them all. So that's also a running joke where like things will turn into his mom, which didn't hit for me like that much, but it did.
It hit in my theater really hard. Wow, our theaters had very different jokes that we liked.
No, it hit in my theater. Like, other people really liked it. I personally didn't find that aspect that funny, but it didn't really like bug me that it was happening.
Okay. I liked it. I thought it was pretty funny. What was I going to say? I liked how they handled how we have a powerful character, but he can't just use it all the time well.
Yeah.
In this film. So I was glad they had Polka Dot Man right. And then the last one is King Shark.
Yeah. Who I thought I wasn't gonna like, but I ended up sympathizing with him a lot. He's kind of like the Groot character, you know? He's like big and lumbering and can't like fully speak and has like sort of childlike qualities while still being very dangerous.
Yes. Very similar to Groot.
Yeah. And it's very hard to kill him, which I was relieved about, but we'll get to that later. So their whole mission when they're on this island, which is a small country, and it used to be run by this family who, I don't know, they were like dictators, I guess. But then they got murdered, and now there's like new people in charge. And the new people in charge want to use this experiment that they have in this big, scary tower to, like, I don't know, attack America or something. So they're like, go take the tower down.
I don't think they want to attack America. I think they just, like, they want to use it for themselves. Because before, the old royal family would, like, let America do what they want with it. But the new people weren't going to let that happen.
I don't think
they
were letting America directly. Yeah. No, they were. The general wanted to release it on America. And then the president... Yeah, he did. He says we could release it on America. And then the president says, no, we should use it to get power. But then the president dies and the general's in charge. I swear to you, they are thinking about threatening America. Well, not even threatening, just releasing it on America.
Okay, I'll believe you. I just am surprised by that then.
Why?
That kind of makes it a little worse for me.
They're nervous about these people having control of this thing.
Or basically. We're told that Amanda Waller's sending them in to stop it because they're nervous.
Yeah.
That's what they tell them.
She's like, get to this tower, blow it up. That's their mission. Get to this tower, blow it up. So they're in the like jungle and they camp out and King Shark almost eats Ratcatcher. It's the first opportunity for all of them to have like a bonding moment, which is funny because he's trying to eat one of them, but it works. Because Ratcatcher's rat like wakes up, who's so cute. She has like a top rat who like sits on her shoulder, and it's such a little cutie, and I'm so glad he didn't die. I was very concerned. Mm-hmm. He wakes up Idris Elba and points, and the King Shark is like almost about to eat her, and then Idris Elba shoots him so many times. It was really intense. I didn't realize it was like a stun gun or something. Was it a stun gun?
It's just normal gun. It's just the King Shark seems to be bulletproof.
He does, yeah. So anyway, they they are like, hey, you can't fucking eat us, dude. And then Ratcatcher suggests that they like be friends, and friends don't eat friends. Fish are friends, not food. And and yeah, so then her and King Shark kind of like have a bit of a closer relationship because she forgave him, and he's never had friends before, and he does want to have friends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's their first bonding experience, and that's when they get a call from Amanda Waller that they should go save Rick. What's his last name?
Flag.
Why do I keep wanting to say Rick Lax? Who is Rick Lax?
I don't know.
It's somebody. Anyway, Rick Flag has been captured, and they need to go get him and kill anyone in their way. So they go on their first massacre, which was very entertaining in terms of creative murdering. This is sort of our main scene of Idris Elba and John Cena like competing, which and it's very, very brutal, but it's like brutal in a shocking way that doesn't go too far not in my opinion, but for me personally and my like level of dealing with things, this movie does go a bit too far for me, to the point where it's like genuinely upsetting a few different times. For me, I was okay with this, and it's probably because I deal better with human murder than like animal murder in movies. But I could tell like halfway through, I was like, something's off about this. And they get to Rick, and he's just like chilling with them at the table. And it turns out he wasn't being held hostage, he was saved. And they basically just killed an entire camp of rebels who were doing nothing wrong. And this was shocking and kind of funny in how fucked up it was, but also I really liked it in terms of these are villains. These are people who kill people all the time, and it wasn't like they were like kind of embarrassed, but it wasn't like they don't spend the rest of the movie being like, oh, I can't believe I killed all those people. Like, it's not that big of a deal for them. It's just like kind of a kooky mistake, you know?
Yes, I've heard a few people online who are like, this bothered me, and I understand that. And I think that maybe they could have worked a little harder to make them look a little more like soldiers.
Like, it bothered
even
them
halfway through. I'm like, there seems to be a lot of civilians here. It
bothered them because they thought that they should have known.
I think they were bothered because they figured out, I don't think this is a military camp.
Oh, so I thought it bothered them like,
oh, you're murdering all these innocent people, and if that bothered them, I think it would have just worked a bit better if they made them like a little more militaristic. I think that might have helped those people. It never bothered me too much.
Well,
because I don't know. It was in tone with the film, but it is a very dark scene.
Yeah.
That they played for laughs. So if you can't handle that sort of thing, like, it's just not the movie for you.
But so is the first scene of the movie. So it's not like it doesn't tell you what you're getting into, you know? And it is that type of movie. And it does, like, it goes too far for me a few times where I don't find it funny anymore. I'm finding it upsetting. But I don't think that's necessarily a problem with the movie. That's just like a personal comfort level that's going to be different for different people, for like how dark can your humor go.
No, this movie does not treat human death with much significance.
No.
Which sounds bad, but it's what the film is. When they say these are missions that people will die, they do mean it this time. Like, these people will die. And
that's part of it's rated 18A, isn't it?
In the US, it's a hard R rating. I'm not sure
Wow.
I think my Canadian rating is 14 plus, but that seems to be our equivalent to an R rating.
I'm
most
surprised
of the time.
it's not more.
Yeah.
Huh?
No, but it's a very hard R.
Yeah.
So like this is not. Don't bring your kids to see this one.
Speaking of, there was a very small child in my theater, and it was very distracting because I was very concerned for them seeing the shit that we were seeing. Like this kid was
mine too.
This kid was like under 10, and I was like, why have you brought your child to this? They're gonna be traumatized. Like,
yeah,
that stressed me out a lot. Please don't bring your kid to this movie.
So they find Flag. They are like, okay, well, we killed your whole team, but you have others, and we'll work together to get them and to save the country.
Yeah, the leader of the resistance agrees to work with them anyway because she hates the government so much they killed her whole family. So she's like, that sucks, obviously, but I will work with you anyway because, you didn't mean to. So it's just kind of a big whoopsie, and they move on.
The squad has to get into the city, which they do, and then they talk for a bit, which we've already gone over, and then they're at the nightclub.
Wait, this is when we meet Milton.
I don't have much thoughts on Milton.
I know, I need to point it out, because I really like the scene that happens later. Milton's the bus driver, he works for the resistance, so he's driving them around, and they get, civilian clothes, because basically what happened is the resistance knew where the dude who controls the Starfish, he controls Project Starfish. Did we even bring up Starfish yet?
All we know right now is that there's something called Project Starfish in that tower.
Yeah, that's what's in the building.
There's a guy
they need
named
to blow up.
the Thinker who runs the experiments there, and at night he goes to this nightclub.
Yeah, and this is part of what I appreciate about this movie is it does not overcomplicate the plot. Because that's like not really the point. Like I've had this in different movies where they just make it overcomplicated when it doesn't need to be. So it's like the resistance knows where this guy is, they tell them, and they go and kidnap him, and he gets them into the tower. Like that's such a good, simple solution to getting there, which I really appreciated. And the bus driver Milton gives them all like civilian clothes so that they blend in, and then they are there for like a few hours, so they get drunk and they hang out. And again, I really appreciated this. One, it's nice to get a few outfit changes during a movie, but also it's another great opportunity for them to like bond.
And they're all having fun at the nightclub. The military comes in and tries to arrest them. Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man take him away while the military arrests the three, Idris Elba, Rick Flag, and John Cena.
Yeah.
They chat for a bit, and then they escape, which was all part of the Idris Elba's plan.
Yeah. Them escaping was a fun sequence. It was just a good little action sequence of them all, like, knocking out the guards, and then they punch through the divide, and they make the car crash by killing the drivers. And yeah, and then they pull up, Ratcatcher and Polka Dot Man pull up in the van, and they're all reunited. It's a fairly simple solution to the problem, but it's done entertainingly, and it doesn't need to be complicated because the point is like the characters and the action. So this is when Rick finds out about Harley. How does he find out about Harley?
One of the guards told him, I think.
So he's like, okay, we have to go save Harley.
So now let's go over all of Harley's plot up to this point.
First of all, Harley is so much better written and presented in this movie than she was in Suicide Squad. The male gaze in the first Suicide Squad was so bad to the point where it's like, it's not just that she was sexual, like it was to the point where it didn't make sense, and her costume was so awful. Like, it wasn't even cute how they did it. It was really frustrating to me.
there were elements of the last movie I really liked about the Harley Quinn.
Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is so good that she
Yes.
managed to be pretty good despite all of the previous stuff.
Yes, well, that's the thing. Margot Robbie is just a really good choice for Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
So it's hard, even in bad movies, she does a good job normally.
No, even though
with
I
the scenes.
really don't like most of how her character was written, she's probably still my favorite character in that movie, you know?
Well, I liked stuff like, I actually don't mind stuff like the hair color. They changed it
I don't
from
mind the hair either.
red to black to pink and blue, which I thought, you know what, that's kind of like fun, different. I didn't mind the shirt as much. What did the shirt say last time?
Daddy's Little Monster.
I didn't mind that in the sense that at that time they were doing something interesting with the Harley Joker dynamic.
Yeah.
About what if instead of it being an abusive relationship, it was a sincere one?
It was still abusive.
It was still, yeah, but it was very different from like other comics and other medium where he's just like completely abusive to her.
I don't know the comics.
And he would abandon her for like forever if it was too much work.
Okay.
But like that was kind of what they wanted to do with it. I don't think they really succeeded.
It was, for me, the first costume. I mean, I could say a lot of things, but it was really the fucking... They weren't even shorts. The problem with the shorts isn't even... It's not even how revealing they are. It's that they were not even flattering. Like, they weren't a good cut. And it's like, that's just... I don't know. It's just very frustrating to me.
I did not like that. Those shorts ruined all the best parts of that movie.
Yeah.
With her. Like, because every time you saw the shorts, like, why is Harley in her underwear?
Yeah.
And there was just no reason. And even Margot Robbie has brought up before, she's like, I don't know why I was in that before.
Yeah.
It seems stupid.
Anyway, so her costuming, I loved in this film, and I loved, her character too. I really liked what they did with her. So in the original Massacre, when she gets the javelin, she gets captured instead of murdered, and they like put her in a pit, and then she's like in there yelling, and they throw her dress, and then we see her, she's like in this limo, and she's all dressed up, and they're like doing her makeup, and she sees herself in the mirror, and she's like, oh, I'm a princess, which I thought was really cute. This entire scene right here, actually the next few scenes with her, I adored. I thought that they were so funny and unexpected and smart. I liked the idea of what they were doing here a lot.
So basically, the general who took over...
No, the president.
Oh, the president that took over.
Who's a very attractive man.
Yes. Attractive man, young guy. He believes his whole country really likes Harley because she's just like really anti-American and she stands up to like the bad people. So I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
A very beautiful woman.
That would make sense. Like Harley Quinn is like a bigger name than like Bloodsport.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't just want to kill her if you can use her like this.
Well, and I like the movie acknowledging in the text that Harley is gorgeous. And I feel like they would acknowledge it, like they acknowledged it in the first one where everyone's like staring at her. But I really appreciated that they were like practically, how would it change how she's treated? And I thought that was practical and also like just very fun and interesting way to take it. So basically, since everyone loves Harley, the president's advisors and the country wants him to be married because it's like more conservative, I guess. They like, it's important for them that their leaders are married and stuff. His advisors are like, hey, if you married Harley Quinn, people would really like that. So she's literally brought to the castle to like be taken on a date by the president.
And they have a fun romantic date.
Yeah, we have a big, like, very mini rom-com, but, like, the lighting of the film changes, and it's all very, like, romantic trailer. Like, it's very cute and funny.
They had very...
I think you mean violent?
Like, yeah. They had very not
destructive.
romantic sex. Does that make... You know what I'm saying?
It was, yeah, it's like passionate and violent and destructive.
It's violent sex, but like they both were just really into it.
Wait, before that though, they have this very romantic scene in the bird cage with all these like birds flying everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they sleep together. He had like proposed and she was like, yeah, which I also loved because Harley is so impulsive and I also feel like she doesn't take anything seriously. Like, even if they got married, if she felt like she would easily just like leave, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So she accepts the marriage proposal and they have sex, and then he's staring at the window and doing this like little villain speech about how he's gonna send, like, they have this big monster in the tower and the previous people would send people there who they didn't like to get like eaten by the monster, and he's like, any person who thinks I'm a bad president, their family and their kids and their whoever are all gonna be sent there, and like blardy blardy blar. And Harley like shoots him in the chest. Which I also loved. And she was like, I promised myself my next boyfriend, there was any red flags, I would do the right thing and kill him. And it was just very cute and a very in-character way to deal with that situation.
Yes. I want to talk about the sorta controversy with this scene.
Okay.
I like this scene a lot. It worked for me, but I also won't deny that when I heard the what people were feeling when they saw it, it's not a large group, but there are people who feel strongly about this.
What scene?
Basically, they felt very uncomfortable with the dynamic that Harley Quinn was brought to the prince and like forced to go on to a date. I know she was kind of into it, but basically she was forced to date the leader and marry him, and the movie frames it like, oh, this was a good thing.
Oh.
That she was forced to go on a date with this guy or she would be killed. Which they didn't never say it implicitly, but it's pretty implied.
Well, it's framed that way because Harley is having fun. But yes, it's bad.
Yeah.
These are the villains.
Yes, I know. I didn't personally see the scene that way, but I also can't deny that if you had a life trauma like that, like if you had gone through an experience of like a bad abusive relationship, I could see how this scene could trigger that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I didn't really know what to say about it, that thing, but I did feel it was relevant to bring up. That there was people online who and in the world who were like, I think this scene made me really uncomfortable that Harley Quinn was dressed up and brought to someone to date them.
Yeah.
As a prisoner.
I think it's...
And the Fit movie frames it like, oh, but she's into it, so it's totally fine to like date and have...
well, I don't think
and have sex with your prisoners because she's like totally into it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that Harley is just kind of rolling with the punches because that's just what she does. So she's like, oh, this is more fun. But I can see how people would say that.
Well,
feel that way.
I would argue, I can see that too, but I don't think the movie is saying that this is an okay thing to do just because they're framing it in the way that they're framing it. I think they're framing it in that way because we're looking at it from Harley's perspective. But like, I don't think doing that means that the film is saying that this is cool because it's a very, very evil man who's doing this. And an evil, like, thing. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. I feel like they don't frame it that way, but I also won't deny that if people feel that way, like, that's how they feel. So I just felt like that was an important part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But Harley Quinn in this movie is the best I've ever seen Margot Robbie do.
Yeah.
By far.
Mm-hmm.
Because she finally gets a good balance of being wild and crazy enough to have fallen in love with the Joker, but smart enough that she could have stayed in charge of such a powerful thing for so long.
Yeah.
Which is such a hard balance to do.
Yeah.
And the problem was in the first Suicide movie, she was just kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. And in Birds of Prey, I felt like she was either too crazy or she was like too smart.
Yeah.
And this movie gets the balance just right.
Well, she also like was hardly evil in Birds of Prey, which was a little bit of an issue.
Yes, that movie had a bunch of issues. We'll probably have to go over it sometime.
Yeah,
But-
that would be a good movie for the podcast.
But no, I loved Harley Quinn in this movie. It was great.
So yeah, after she kills the president, she gets arrested, obviously, because you're not supposed to do that. And they put her in like the basement to like torture her for information. And this is kind of when our timelines collide. So Rick and the team are like coming to rescue her, and it's kind of like half-assed. Like, it's a little implied that maybe they're still drunk or something. They're like half in their civilian gear, half in their like combat stuff, and they're like getting ready to break in and stuff. And meanwhile, Harley in the basement, which I also loved, and I felt like this was such a good like in the last movie we had that sequence of her doing all this gymnastics stuff, right? And then it like hardly really mattered. And in this movie it kind of pays off because she pretends to pass out from them electrocuting her, and when they aren't paying attention, she grabs the one guy with her legs, and she like pulls herself up so that the dude is hanging. She'd have to be very strong, so it's also very impressive in that way. And she like breaks his neck and then uses her toes to get the keys and unlock the lock that's like over her head. It's very acrobatic.
But very in line with the Harley Quinn character.
Mm-hmm. And then she takes the combat boots, and she also ends up ripping her dress to use as like a weapon later on, which is also just sort of our like third outfit variation for her, which again, I just love a good costume change, but it also does a really good job of kind of bringing the more formal dress into her like Hot Topic aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Also, with the combat boot scene, I was just so happy that they were like, okay, she's gonna wear practical shoes for the rest of the movie, so she can actually do all this action instead of making her run in like boot heels with
Or
the
bare
tiniest
feet.
heel ever on the back. It was like a little thing, but I was just like, yay, Harley's wearing practical shoes.
Yeah. And then she had the really fun action scene again where she's fighting her way out of the building. It's the one you see in the trailer where she's in the red dress and she's like spinning in the hallway with the two guns. At one point near the end, there starts being all these like flowers and birds and stuff everywhere, and I wasn't entirely sure how I felt about it. I liked the idea of it. I don't know if I liked the choice, like the exact choice of what they picked with the flowers and stuff. I don't feel like when I think of Harley Quinn, I think of flowers. Like, I feel like I would have preferred something else to be flying everywhere.
I didn't mind the flowers too much. I just think I wish they'd gone a little further with it.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like it kind of happened, but it
Yeah.
was like, I need to stop saying like so much. It was just something I wish they had gone a bit further with.
Yeah, they kind of needed to not overcommit, but they needed to commit a bit more to it. It was a really good idea. The execution was just like a tiny bit off, especially with like how colorful it was. Like, I feel like even if it was simply just like more like red and black, like just her colors, or like, I don't know, more goth or more something.
I would have liked it a lot, but it also didn't ruin anything. I just thought, oh, this is neat, and then it ended.
Yeah.
So if it could have ruined it, but again, they were smart enough not to go too far if they didn't want to go all the way.
Yeah.
So they kept it simple, and then they moved on.
And then they had a really cute scene where, as she's leaving, she sees the other team who are getting prepared to rescue her, and she goes over to ask what they're doing. And Rick is like, oh, we're like rescuing you. And she gets so emotional that they were coming to save her, which is really, really cute. And again, it's like a really like cute bonding moment. And she was like, "Oh, I can go back in, so you can save me."
I loved that line. It was so cute. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Well, I could just go back inside."
Yeah, which again was just a really efficient way of establishing and making stronger those relationships in like a very short amount of time. It kind of shows you what like good dialogue can do. Like good dialogue can do a lot in a very short time.
Mm-hmm.
So then the whole team is now on the way to the big tower, and they have Brain Dude, who they're like, you know, you're gonna let us in with your eye scan and your whatever.
So they get into the building. Like, there's some cool action scene, especially when the rain starts. They just have some really great visuals with the rain, how they can, like, disappear into it.
Oh, yeah, the rain. That was another, like, it was just a very, simple detail that led to really good details. Visuals, I mean. It was very brief, too, but it was, like, I like that.
And then they quickly got in, they locked the building up. They killed a few guards that are in the way, and then they start getting ready to blow things up.
Yeah, so this team splits up. 2 of them are going up the building to set a bunch of explosives, and then some of them go downstairs. I forget why. Why are they going downstairs?
Put more explosives.
Oh, okay. So down the stairs is Rick, Ratcatcher, and Peacemaker then follows them when he wasn't supposed to, right? Is that the 3 of them? And the brain guy.
It's the Thinker, Rick Flag, and Ratcatcher go to the what we now know as the experiment lab.
Yeah. So what they find downstairs is, which we found this out a little bit earlier when we were with the villains, but basically the monster is this big space starfish, and its whole thing, which is very gross and creepy, is out of its like sides it'll release all these baby starfish, and they'll like do the face hugger thing and latch onto your face, and then now you're dead basically, and they control you.
And it's that's a difference from the comic, which I thought was an interesting and probably a good choice. In the comic, if the Starro, if he gets a star on your face, you can rip it off and you're fine. But in this one, they make it very clear, once that thing's on your face, you're dead.
Yeah.
And it just controls your corpse. And it's like a lot more disturbing.
It was very disturbing, and it also uses the humans it's attached to talk, and I like this part because it made like the monster is also sympathetic because it's being held captive by the brain dude. It's just like held prisoner, and it's like begging them to let them out. And I wasn't sure if I was interpreting this correctly, but is it implied that the brain guy like raped the starfish?
What?
You didn't notice this?
What?
Okay, when the starfish is talking to Ratcatcher through the people in the cages, it says like, "Oh, you have to let me out. He's like doing terrible things to me. He had his way with me." And then Ratcatcher looks at Brain Guy weird, and he, like, makes this weird face. And then later, when the starfish gets free, it grabs Brain Dude. And Brain Guy is like, "I admit I crossed the line."
I think it's just he was torturing it for the experiment.
Okay. I mean, it said it had its way with me, which just is normally
meant.
what that means.
No, I don't think that's what they meant.
Okay.
Anyway, Rick Flag, or the Thinker quickly tells them, "Hey, do you think this tiny island nation in the middle of nowhere was running this experiment? No, it was the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
The giant government was running it."
Yeah.
And Rick Flag gets really mad.
Yeah, so they were sent there to they thought they were being sent there to destroy a monster thing, but they're actually being sent there to destroy the evidence that the U.S. was involved with this monster thing. And so, yeah, Rick Flag I think Rick Lax is a weird Facebook magician. Anyway, Rick Flag gets really upset. And they did such a better job up until this point of making him like a likable character. Like he hasn't even really had that much dialogue or anything, but establishing him and Idris Elba's like previous relationship and having them be friends and having him be like friendly with the rebels, and then him and Harley kind of had a few moments after he came to rescue her. They just did a much better job establishing him as a character for when he dies shortly. I was genuinely upset about it. Whereas, like, if in the first movie he had died, I wouldn't have cared because he was very boring.
Yes, I did not like Rick Flag in the last movie. He was boring.
Yeah.
This movie, he's much more likable.
Much more
likable. I was
likable.
very happy about. And when John Cena comes in and says he had a secret second mission to make sure that all the data was destroyed, and then he kills him.
Yeah.
I was genuinely sad. And
Which,
also,
again,
it showed John Cena's character goes from, like, a bad guy to a villain.
And it makes so much sense with his character because his whole thing is like peace no matter what. And it's like, this country, yeah, sure, our country did a really bad thing, but if we tell people about it, then it will cause like chaos and dissent, and that's not peace.
It put in danger the peace.
Even though that would be morally the right thing to do, you know? Which is just so in line with his character, which I really like. But yeah, so Rick Lax, he like steals the like data thing from the computer, and then he's trying to like leave with it to take it to the press, and that's when John Cena reveals, like, which also explains why he followed them downstairs. And so he's like, I can't let you leave with that. And it's a good fight because it's like neither of them want to kill each other, but they care about what they're trying to do more. And it's, pretty brutal, and John Cena ends up stabbing him with, like, a bathroom tile, which was really intense. Oh, also, right before the fight happens, all of the explosions go off, which happened earlier than was supposed to happen. So while they're fighting in a bunch of rubble, and that is, I think it cracks the glass to the container that was holding the big starfish.
Yes. So Star's getting out now, but like it's still slow. He's still in the middle of breaking out. Mm-hmm. And Rick Flag is dead. Yeah. And Ratcatcher sees the drive, sees that understands the situation, and she takes the drive and starts running. She
saw John Cena sort of like through a broken wall kill him, and Rick had like thrown the drive by accident or something, I think, when he was in the midst of dying. So she grabbed it and runs away with it now. So now John Cena's running after her.
Flag's last words were like, "Peacemaker, what a joke."
Yeah.
And it was like, it made John Cena upset and angry. And Ratcatcher, I think, agreed. She's like, "You're just kind of being evil at this point."
Yeah. Yeah, well, she's definitely like the most moral of them all. So of course she would want to show it to the press. She runs away.
She takes it and she starts running away.
And John Cena catches up to her. Yeah. And so he's like threatening to murder her, and she's like, "Please don't murder me."
And I liked how they I thought it was interesting how they framed it, where she's like, "You could just destroy the drive. Like, you could destroy the evidence." And he's like, "No, I want peace guaranteed. And you could, like, you existing could be evidence." Mm-hmm. Which could put the peace at risk. Which it's like such a stretch. Mm-hmm. But it kind of goes to show he's not very good at the whole peace thing himself.
So then we go back in time and we see what our like other squad was doing, which they're basically just putting bombs up on all the floors. And we totally forgot. Okay. So, way before all of this happened, this is one of the scenes that were too much for me. The bad guy, the general, who's now in charge after the president was murdered, he burns all of the birds alive, who we saw in the previous scene, and that was one of the scenes that I just, like, really genuinely disturbed me. and was like far too much, and I wish that wasn't in the movie. Anyway, moving on.
So they're upstairs in the offices. They're setting up the bombs. The
Okay,
army comes in to attack them.
Before that, yeah, so the army shoots Milton, who's the bus driver. I love this scene. Polka Dot Man is so upset about this. And I loved how upset he was, and he tells the other people after they kill the guards, he's like, oh, they killed Milton, and the others are like, Idris Elba's like, Milton was still here, and Harley Quinn didn't even know who Milton was, because she never like knew his name, and I just really liked how upset Polka Dot Man was. And then there's also like they all end up coming over to the body to like see who Milton was, and Polka Dot Man is so upset with them for not knowing, and he's like, oh, he sacrificed himself to help us, and like blah blah, and they're just surprised he was even there in the first place. And I really liked, like, Idris Elba was like, what did he say to him? He's like, I didn't even know you liked Milton. And Polka Dot Man was like, I liked him from the very beginning. I just didn't say anything. And I just thought that was like, I don't know. It was just a very cute little scene that was very, like, it very much characterized Polka Dot Man for me.
It was a cute scene. I liked how Polka Dot Man, they showed his humanity side by being like, guys, he died. You should care. And just no one did.
And that's when more guards come in, and Polka Dot Man shoots them with all his polka dots. But when Milton had died, he dropped a bunch of bombs, and they hit the bombs, and that's why the bombs went off too early.
But for the record, this scene is why I think they're fire, because that's how they set off the bomb. Is they like burned it, and that made it explode. I don't think you would just cut a bomb and it would explode.
I don't know. I don't know how bombs work.
I think it's fire.
Okay.
But anyway, Polka Dot Man sets off the explosives. So basically the whole building's falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a really cool thing when Idris Elba's character starts falling down the floor.
No, wait. Before that, though, which I agree, but we'll get back to that, because this is very important. So while they are all doing this stuff, like upstairs, King Shark finds an aquarium room, and he makes friends with these little like jellyfish looking things that keep like copying the shape of him, and he's so excited. And this is another thing that genuinely upset me. So when the building explodes, the aquarium breaks, and so we have sort of like everything fills with water, and then the top part of the building starts to fall off, and everyone has to like get off the building. So his little friends are released, and then they aren't friends. They're like carnivore things, and they all start attacking him. And Shark, he's just so upset about it. And then he falls off the building, and then the army like kills him. And I thought he died at first, and I was like genuinely very upset that he was so happy to make these new friends, and his friends betrayed him, and then he fell off a building and died. And that was just...
He didn't die, though.
I know, he didn't die, which makes it better, but I was still very sad that I just feel like the jellyfish being mean was unnecessary.
I thought it was funny.
No, Luke. It was sad.
It's funny in the sense that he's very resilient. Life just does not want to cut him any breaks.
But yeah, so they have a classic movie scene where they're like outrunning a falling building.
It was very well done, though.
It was. I really liked it. But yes, Idris Elba, so he jumps on like a piece of floor that's like not very well. He falls actually. That's not very well like, secured because the building just blew up. And he like didn't fall that far, and he's kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then the floor that he's on falls again, and then it goes like throughout the building where he'll like land, and then the weight of the landing, which is now him plus like multiple floors, will break the next floor, and he just keeps going down like floor by floor, but only falling like a short amount each time.
Which was a great way to get him, like, down a long distance.
Yeah.
Without it being like, oh, he just has a super suit, so he's fine.
Yeah. But
the building just fell very shortly many times. I
love that. It was very, like, it was fun to watch and also, like, unique. Like, I don't think I've seen that before. Yeah. And it was like, very... it was a very, like, fun way for them to solve that problem.
And so he falls to the bottom floor, and he sees John Cena about to kill Ratcatcher. And so the two of them fire the bullets at each other to try and kill the other one. And John Cena fired a big bullet, and Bloodsport, following John Cena's advice from earlier, uses a tiny bullet.
Yeah.
Which shatters his big bullet and kills him.
Yeah.
Which was just very cool. And it was kind of like, finally, Idris Elba is officially declared better than John Cena.
Mm-hmm. And now the starfish is getting out, so they all run out of the building, and the starfish, like, breaks out and starts...
It releases its little baby things.
Yeah, and it starts attacking the city. And Amanda Waller says, you guys, what?
Well, Ratcatcher is the one that figures out, as long as your face is, like, not exposed, it can't get to you.
Yeah.
Like, they aren't very smart babies, so if they can't get to you within one grab, they kind of just die. Which I thought was interesting, although I was a little annoyed that they were just able to, like, swing their arms around, and I was like, has no one else thought about trying that?
Yeah, it was a little convenient that they were the only ones who didn't get a face hugger. I thought, at first, I thought it was going to be something because of the previous begging when they had gone downstairs and the starfish was like, oh, let me out. I thought that the starfish was, like, not attacking them on purpose because it was, like, didn't see them as villains since they are the ones who, like, released it. But I don't think that was the case. Like, they never say anything like that, which I would have appreciated because I feel like that would have made sense.
I would have just liked it if they had a little more into, like, why they were the only ones not affected.
Yeah, and I thought...
just, they swatted their arms.
I thought it was maybe going to be like, oh, they all had masks on, but, like, they didn't, so... But, yeah, so Amanda Waller orders them to leave, and they decide to, like, break orders and go save the city anyway. And I honestly, I think I would have liked it better if they left.
I was fine with them staying because these particular characters were all the ones that they were bad, but they weren't
that bad.
As bad, which they did set up before.
That's true.
Idris Elba never just killed, was not just, like, murdering for fun. He only did it for the job. And, like, he didn't want needless death in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, that's a fair point.
Mm-hmm. And, like, Polka Dot Man's not a terrible person. Harley Quinn showed us before she does have some morals.
Yeah.
But Ratcatcher's also moralistic, and King Shark's just kind of dumb and does whatever everyone else does.
Ratcatcher definitely makes sense. I did like how they handled Harley Quinn when they told them to leave. She just kind of shrugged, and she didn't really care. But when they went back, it was like, because for some reason, she was like, oh, this is what the javelin's for. So she was more excited to use the javelin than anything.
Yes. That was a clever way to use Harley Quinn there.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't really care either way, but she's like, oh, the javelin, I need to find its purpose.
Mm-hmm.
This is the biggest problem I have with the movie. This scene right here, which is they are disobeying Waller's orders.
Yeah.
And Waller is getting mad, and she's like, guys, I'm going to blow your heads off. Come back. And they aren't listening. So Waller's about to blow their heads off, and her office team just knocks her out.
Yes.
And my issue with it is, which I know you just said yes, so you agree with me.
I do.
Is that I love the character of Amanda Waller.
Mm-hmm.
But Amanda Waller is hard to get right.
Yes.
Because Amanda Waller is supposed to be powerful enough that she can stand up to Superman, but she has no actual superpowers. She just has such good political power.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, I was like very upset that the way they defeated her was just a conk on the head.
Well, especially because, like, when she wakes up, she just seems kind of annoyed. When I was like, everyone in that office should be dead when she wakes up.
What I would have rather Bloodsport convince her Like, hey, this star thing's probably going to come to the US. We'll have to deal with it then. Or if Amanda Waller's like, hey guys, I'm just going to nuke the island. And then this team is like, hey, that's going to kill everyone on the island. Can we try and stop it? And she's like, makes no difference to me.
Yeah.
The nukes are dropping in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Stop it before then or we're dropping them.
You're right. I like that. That would have been
Or
nicer.
even if they had done this scene, I would have been more fine with it had Waller got proper, like, had done proper revenge on her staff members after.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, they kind of frame it like she's just like, wow, that was annoying. And it's like, no, she would not react. Like, her kind of like you said is like, she's very powerful, but also that's very tenuous because she's exerting her power over people who objectively have more power than her.
Yes.
In so many ways. So the perception of her having power is very important. So them breaking like the line of command like that and knocking her out would be a serious offense to the power that she needs to have in order to basically not die at this point.
So this wasn't my idea. I read it online somewhere, or I saw it online somewhere, but it wasn't my idea, but I like it so much. I can't remember who thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know how earlier in the film she talks about how she needs to golf with a senator to, like, get better at it. So she's, like, practicing.
Yeah.
I would have loved it if in that scene she had, like, her Task Force X building had blown up and all her staff died. As like a sense of like, you guys betrayed me, so you have to go. Because she's such a person that would do that.
What does that have to do with the golf?
Oh, I would have liked it if while she was on the golf course, she like got a call. And they were like, hey, the whole building blew up. And then they like, or she saw a video of it blowing up.
Yeah.
Or she was out there. Just because they set up the golf
too.
scene.
Yeah, I would have liked that too. I mean...
there should have been consequences, and I know they kind of say they were with the post-credit scene.
Oh.
But, like, those are not consequences.
I didn't see the post-credit scene. What happened?
Okay, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll tell you...
Later?
Actually, I will tell you now, then.
Okay.
My brain kept saying, like, I'll tell you, and then I moved on. I was like, wait, no, I have to actually say it. And there's two post-credit scenes. You probably saw did you see the one with Weasel?
Yeah.
Yeah, Weasel's live. It's just kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Then at the very end, they reveal Peacemaker's alive in the hospital.
Okay.
He is resilient. And then Amanda Waller's staff, their punishment is that they have to work with Peacemaker more.
Oh, that's stupid.
When he gets up. And it's like, I get that you're saying this is their punishment, but like that just seems like their normal job, but they have to work with someone who's slightly more annoying.
Yeah. I would assume they have to work with annoying people all the time.
Yeah. I just wanted consequences for this beyond her just being annoyed.
Well, the lack of it is just like severely out of character for Amanda Waller.
Which is weird because everything up to that point was such a good Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Viola Davis is so good for this part. When she was cast last time, I was like so happy. And when she came back for this one, even though she doesn't need to do these movies.
Yeah.
Like she is, no offense to this movie, she is better than them just because she's Viola Davis. She can do whatever she wants. But she comes back and she does such a great job. And then they just kind of ruined her character with that one scene for the rest of the movie. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. No,
that's so
not something she would have just, like, let go. So, yeah, then they have, classic big monster fight. I liked how they end up resolving it. Oh, before we get there, Polka Dot Man gets killed in this fight. He gets smushed by a big leg of the starfish after he chopped it with a bunch of polka dots.
But I liked how his final moments was him being a hero.
Yes,
like just an
me
objective
too.
Hero.
That kind of stopped it. Like, it's still very sad, but it's kind of like at least he was so sad most of the movie, and he was very happy, and he was like, I'm a fucking superhero, and like, you know, he felt really good. So it's like, at least he died happy, which is like kind of the most you can ask from this movie in a lot of ways.
Yes, he was just going through like so much stuff the whole time.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he finally got to feel not
empowered,
like a freak or a crazy person, just like someone doing a good thing.
Yeah. How they ended up killing the starfish was smart, but very fucking gnarly. Like, really hard to watch. This is the exact reason I'm scared of swarms of bugs that are, like, small enough to get, like, inside of you. This exact reason. Like, I don't, gross. So, Ratcatcher ends up, like, turning on her rat light, and the rats are just eating the starfish from the inside, basically, and Harley Quinn...
It's like millions of rats just climbing this thing, completely taking it over.
Oh, it's such a brutal way for it to die, too. Woof! And Harley, like, runs and stabs it. Well, she doesn't really stab it in the eye, she kind of flies through its eyeball, which also gnarly, but interesting visuals. Mm-hmm. And the rats all, like, swim in and start... Oh, God, it's such a gross way to die. And the starfish was, like, definitely in the wrong because it wanted to take over a city. But I also feel bad for it because we kidnapped it from space where it was living and took it here and then tortured it for years and then just murdered it in this very brutal way when it was just kind of, like, trying to do its normal thing, you know?
I felt bad for Starro. I didn't feel bad for Starro. I shouldn't say that. But I understood he just felt like he was tortured for years, so we deserve to be tortured for years. And it's like, I understand you're in a lot of pain right now.
Well, it wasn't torture, though. Like, it's just... I just saw it as, like, it's normal... Mm-hmm. It's like a cheetah, I don't know, killing an animal to eat it, you know? It's just a normal thing.
Yes, I like that description. But I felt bad in the sense that, like, it died a very gruesome death.
Yeah.
But also, it was killing a lot of people.
No, like
a lot of people got those star things on its face.
It had to be stopped, but, like, I still sympathized with it.
And also, it was a very clever way to kill him, because, like, yeah, there's probably a lot of rats, so if she can control them all, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
I related to Idris Elba's character fear of rats because he's terrified of them. So this scene, he's literally just crouched underneath him, while Ratcatcher has a hand on him supporting him.
Yeah.
So as you know, I don't like rats and mice very much. I find them disturbing and disgusting, and I have a deep fear of them. But so I was like, Idris Elba, I feel you, bro. Mm-hmm. I feel you. It's okay. You're saving the world right now. So that whole scene, I was kind of like this. But also, this movie kind of made the rats endearing.
The head rat is, like, so cute. And then the last scene is, I guess there's one more scene before that. So, Idris Elba uses the like, data that he has to blackmail Amanda Waller into letting them all be free, basically. He's like, you know, if you let us be free and, like, don't fuck with us, I won't release this information. Yeah. And, so she agrees to let them all be free. And, then the very last one is when they're all on the plane and the little head rat is, like, on his leg and he's, like, he decides to try to pet it, even though he's obviously still very scared. And I just thought that was a very, very cute, like, final scene. Yeah.
The thing I liked about particularly Idris Elba and Ratcatcher's dynamic is Idris Elba and Ratcatcher earlier in the film promised to save each other.
Yeah.
And then they both kept that promise.
Yeah.
Like, he saved her from Peacemaker.
That's true.
And she saved him from Starro.
That's true, they did.
So I just thought that was cute, that, like, he had a bonding with her.
Yeah, I really liked the relationship.
Like, really went through the whole thing.
There was also a scene where his daughter saw them saving the city on TV, and she was like, that's my dad. And again, I just found that a little bit too genuine for this movie.
I liked it.
So, final thoughts.
I was very happy with this movie. Like, there were a few times where I'm like, ugh, why?
Yeah.
With just Amanda Waller, mostly, that final part. But honestly, it was a good movie to get back to theaters.
I liked it. It was pretty good. Definitely my favorite DC movie I've seen, but I've in no way seen all of them. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a fun movie. It's not quite as good as I wanted it to be, but I had very hopeful expectations for it. So that's not... I would still call it a good movie.
I kept my expectations low because a lot of DC movies, especially recently, I get excited for, and then they're just not good enough, and then I get disappointed. So this one, I went into it like, it's going to be fine and nothing more. Yeah. Just to keep myself in check, and then it was better than fine, so I was happy.
It's definitely better than fine. It's pretty good, is what I would say.
I'd say it's like a B plus.
Yeah.
Not A-level movie, but like, it did a good job and a little more than what it needed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good assessment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was The Suicide Squad.
Thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. We'll see you next time at the campfire. Okay. Recording. Can you stop recording the... Thank you.